Welcome to the JCLP Graduation 2019.
So Jordan and I'm Allie. Nice to see everybody. JCLP, this cohort has formed a really wonderful tradition of starting and ending all of our big moments or emotional moments, whatever, when the mood strikes with the same nigun. So if you turn in your program to the insert, it's at the bottom.
Yeah, I got it. Ozi v'zimrat vayahi lishua. Ozi v'zimrat vayahi lishua. Ozi v'zimrat vayahi lishua. Ozi v'zimrat vayahi lishua.
Thank you for sharing in that tradition with us. And then I'm going to turn it over to Emily, who's going to introduce our first speaker.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces. I have the pleasure of introducing Dean Videka, who has been one of our #1 fans of JCLP, truly, and has come to almost all of our events, even though they are a very busy person. So I'm happy to invite her up to speak with us today.
Good morning, everyone. I am the JCLP program top rank supporter and enthusiast. You got it right on that. And I'm very pleased to be here today to say a brief welcome to our graduation celebration. The Jewish Communal Leadership Program at the University of Michigan is a really unique program that brings together and catalyzes a great reaction. And let me say a little bit more about that metaphor. What are the elements that come together? Excellent students, interdisciplinary partnership, and strong ties, both with the Frankel Center for Judaic Studies and also the Department of Judaic Studies here at the university, together with the School of Social Work. Did I say outstanding students? I did say outstanding students. And the real catalyst that makes all these terrific ingredients, the excellence of the university, the excellence of the students, is the brilliant and dedicated leadership that Karla Goldman provides. Let's give Karla a hand. This is a program that is scholarly. It involves the 2 core ingredients for social work education, which is deep knowledge about people in their environments and about society. Second of all, with personal development and transformation that really produces, when you put all these great elements together, this program does produce leaders for the next generation of the Jewish community and of social work. And that we are really proud of the program. I learned today by reading the program, it's a good thing to do. We have more than 140 alumni of the program and its predecessor programs over the years, doing very exciting things across the nation and across the world. I want to say that this year has been a banner year. First of all, the phenomenal conference that Karla and the team on Jewish feminism hosted in March. Was that March? Yes, not April, March. That was something that was really outstanding. The group, am I right, took a trip to Israel this year also, and through our generous donors, that's the kind of value experience added that we're able to provide for this program. So I'm delighted you've joined us today. I want to thank our community members from the Jewish community, because I mentioned the department and the Frankel Center, but also this program has very strong ties with the community. And I want to thank all of you who have come today. And I want to say to the students, I wish you every success. I know you're going to have it. And go forth and do good work and be a leader. That's what you are prepared for. So thanks everyone and welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Kaplan. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm graduating today from the Jewish Communal Leadership Program, and I have the pleasure of introducing Professor Julian Levinson, who is the Samuel Schetzer Associate Professor of American Jewish Studies here at the University of Michigan, and also the Director of the Graduate Program at the Frankel Center. I just want to say quickly, Julian's What is Judaism course serves as a foundation for JCLP's Judaic Studies component. In What is Judaism, Julian artfully condenses thousands of years of Jewish theology, history, culture, and political development into a digestible and meaningful form. His down-to-earth and relatable pedagogical approach, his enthusiasm for our respective interests, and a sense of humor make him a favorite among JCLP students. Among his many recognitions, Julian received a 2017 JCLP Medal of Valor for rescuing our class from a hostile bee, capturing it in his fedora hat, and releasing it out the window. Please welcome Julian to the podium.
And he wasn't hurt. The bee was not hurt. All right. Thank you, Danny, and Karla, and Rabbi Dobrusin, and wonderful to see everybody here. This is really a high point of my year to be able to come and speak at this event. I'm not going to speak long. I'm just representing the academic unit of Judaic Studies, which, as you know, forms an integral part of the JCLP program and contributes to its uniqueness. I've been such a fan and really not only honored, but really comforted by this particular work that I've been allowed to do, which is to work with young people with commitment. We hear these words a lot, but in this particular case, it has deep rootedness, and it's a scary world right now, and I feel comforted in ways that are hard to express that you are going out and doing your work. I do want to tell a joke, though. With Jewish jokes, you always have to assume that everybody's not only heard the joke, but heard different versions of it. So you'll have to excuse me. But so there's a guy, and he's very down on his luck. It's just all coming apart, and he's at his his wits are. He's at his. He's down in the dumps. A voice from Hashem comes echoing into the chamber where he's sitting in deep despair. And God says, "Don't worry, you will win the lottery." God's voice itself, there's no ambiguity. He is filled with joy. He is comforted. It's going to all turn out. And he waits. Years go by. He remembers what God said. as you would too. He dies. He goes up to heaven. He sees God. He says, "What happened?" God says, "Well, you could have bought a lottery ticket." This encapsulates a philosophy of ethics. We have incredible strength, power, capacity among human beings. But somebody needs to activate it. You need to actually make the move. You need to enact your own agency. In this story, God can only do so much. He can do a lot, but you got to buy the ticket. But you guys know this, and I have no doubt that you understand both sides of this joke. In other words, that there is incredible know-how, warmth, potentiality in human communities, but that it also needs to be activated by your ingenuity, agency, and I hope that some of what we've been able to provide here will guide you as you make those decisions, but they could not have done so. They will not do so without your own brilliance. And so I thank you for this opportunity, and Mazel Tov, and I can't wait to hear what you guys are up to next. Okay, take care. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rachel, and it is my sincere honor and pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Rabbi Rob Dobrusin. Rabbi Dobrusin served as the rabbi of Ann Arbor's Beth Israel congregation from 1988 until his retirement in June of 2018. He holds an MA, rabbinic ordination, and an honorary Doctor of Divinity degree from the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. He previously served as co-chair of Truah, a rabbinic call for human rights. In 2015, Rabbi Dobrusin was named one of the 33 most inspiring rabbis in America by the Jewish publication The Forward. Last March, just before he retired and became Rabbi Emeritus, JCLP students had the opportunity to spend a couple hours learning from and reflecting with Rabbi Dobrusin. Before even thinking back on the content of what he said, I personally remembered the feeling in the room that day. It was one of calm, of warmth, and of deep commitment to the Jews who make up Jewish community. In that meeting, Rabbi Dobrusin talked about the role of a Jewish communal leader who cares about inclusivity and moral responsibility. He talked about how powerful it can be to take bold and sometimes controversial stances when in positions of influence, while always remembering to meet people where they are. And he reminded us that when there's hate around you, the best antidote to being ugly is to not be ugly. Rabbi Dobrusin has a book full of wisdom that he wrote, available on Amazon, called The Long Way Around, Stories and Sermons from a Life's Journey. Please welcome Rabbi Rob Dobrusin.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you to everyone for this invitation to speak at this wonderful event. It is an honor to represent in many ways the community, the Jewish community of Ann Arbor as well, because as was stated before, we feel we are partners in the efforts that you all do here, and we're so glad to be part of this wonderful occasion and this wonderful institution. So mazel tov to everyone, to the graduates, to spouses and partners, to parents, grandparents, siblings, good friends, whomever is here supporting you today. And it's to those of you, not the graduates, that I want to speak for one moment. I want to begin by thanking all of you for not saying what my father used to say, I think in jest, when I decided I was going to be a rabbi, and he would say, "What kind of job is that for a Jewish boy?" He was kidding, but there are many who say it seriously when they find out that a daughter or a son or a husband or a wife or a partner or a friend plans to serve the Jewish community in whatever capacity. thank you for not saying it. Thank you for encouraging, in whatever way you did, the graduates to see the meaning and sharing their talents with the Jewish community. And thank you to the graduates for investing your time, your efforts, your expertise in the future of the American Jewish community. If I can speak for a moment as part of the generation which is starting to step aside in deference to new generations of leaders, we're counting on you to shape our future. Now, I have to be honest with you, I've never delivered a commencement address before. And besides being brief, I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to be doing 100%, but I've heard my share of them. And most of them were very nice and, in fact, somewhat unremarkable in the long run. But one was absolutely unforgettable for me because of one sentence I heard in a commencement address, which has echoed in my mind since I heard it at a graduation several years ago. I'm not going to tell you who said it. And the reason I'm not going to is I hope that he regrets it. And we all know what happens when you say things 7 years and people quote them later, 7 years later, and you find out that I wish I hadn't said that. So I'm not going to mention his name, but trust me, he was a well-known individual. And at a university graduation that I had quite a personal stake in, the commencement speaker urged the graduates to be the generation which took a different path than its predecessors. In and of itself, as you'll hear me say later, that's not so bad. But it was the focus of the path that was stunning. He said, quote, "It's shocking how many Americans swallow that old story. Maybe you'll be the generation that moves past the ancient fiction." The fiction he was referring to, he said, was belief in God. Now, we happen to be sitting near graduates receiving degrees in theology, and there were a couple of gasps, and one of the graduate students actually fell off his chair. I was astounded, and I was furious. Now, let me be clear. I am not going to turn this event into a speech urging faith in the divine. That's an intensely personal issue. We all know that status in the Jewish community doesn't necessarily have anything to do with one's personal theology or faith in God. But while I don't really care at this moment who does or who doesn't believe in God, I do care deeply that the belief in this and other foundational principles must survive for untold numbers of generations to come. So today I want to talk about foundational principles that I hope you'll continue to perpetuate, and those that I hope, in fact, you'll move past in the work that you do. So let me offer the 3 foundational principles that I hope you never abandon, and they all are related to those who wish to a belief in God. We've chosen, first of all, to believe as Jews that human beings are inherently equal, as we've each been created with the spark of something greater. So graduates, endeavor to treat each individual you come into contact with in your work as your equal. Learn from them as you teach them. Let them inspire you as you seek to inspire them. Stand with them, not above them. Recognize in each of them the spark of humanity, the spark of holiness, and, if you will, the divine spark. And that leads to a second principle. From the Torah's description of Moses' relationship with God and the rabbinic tradition of Aaron as peacemaker between individuals, we have chosen to believe as Jews that panim el panim, face to face, is the best way to interact with others. I hope you'll stand up for that principle. I'm not going to ask you to lead a revolution against technology because it can be a great help in reaching people and uniting people, but it can't be the whole story. Take the time to look people in the eye, face to face, and recognize that a handshake, a pat on the back, or in the proper circumstances, of course, a hug, can do more than a text message ever could. And finally, and most importantly, we are living in an era in which the increase of forces of hatred and division have torn our hearts and have placed us as Jews in danger and have endangered the lives of so many of our brothers and sisters in different communities here in this country, people whom we must stand with and stand up for. And as we do that, as we protect ourselves and reach out and stand with others, please remember always that the redemption of our world is in our hands. And we have always believed as Jews that it can and it will happen. If you will it, it is not a dream, could be said about every aspect of our world. No matter how bad things seem and we have reason to fear, we can't give up on this world. Don't ever stop being idealists. Root yourself in pragmatism and reality, but believe in the greatest dreams that you or anyone could imagine. These basic foundational principles of equality, of humanness, of faith and hope in the future are in fact what I believe our tradition meant when it talked about belief in God. But with or without the theological element, they should motivate every individual who works within the Jewish community. Never give up on these principles. They are what makes us who we are. But as much as it's your role to embrace foundational principles of mythic proportions, it's your role as well to be descendants of Abraham who broke the idols of the past. One of my favorite sermons that I ever delivered, I don't know how other people felt about it, but I know how I felt about it, was about recognizing that our parents and our teachers were sometimes wrong about some of the things they said, and that we should accept that. Because I believe that if it weren't the case, if we didn't admit the wrong in what we have been taught, there would be no progress in the world. So let me tell you about some of the idols that I hope you break, whether you choose to use a sledgehammer or a chisel, knowing full well that my generation has been responsible for spreading some of these givens, and hoping you will not be reticent to change them. Some of them are already on the way to being broken, but each generation of leaders needs to commit itself to pushing the boundaries further and opening our community beyond the ideas of the past. So break the fiction that still exists out there, that no Jews face mental health issues, that no Jews are financially unstable, that no Jews are in prison, that abuse couldn't exist in a Jewish home. I know very few actually believe in that fallacy anymore, but too many of us act like we do, closing our eyes to the problems that exist within the Jewish community. You know they're there, and they must be addressed. And every individual must be made to feel part of our community. Take pride in the work you do with people who are in need, and make sure that the leaders whom you work with are aware of the issues that face members of our community, and that they take action to help, whether it's budgeting, priorities, or simply in the language that they use. You have that responsibility to move us further along that path. Secondly, I hope that you will break the fiction that we need to have firm red lines, firm uncrossable boundaries, whether political or otherwise, in order to keep our values strong as a community. We have, as an American Jewish community, been too eager at times to close people out who express opinions we don't want to hear, or who, from whatever perspective we feel, should be outside the fold. You need to break this fiction. Yes, there are ideas that are counterproductive to our future, but we have drawn our red lines much too firmly and not wisely enough. We can address difficult questions and differences of opinion without exclusion. Break the fiction that we need to build firm, unbreachable walls around us. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, there's one more fiction that I want you to break. Something that people say about our Jewish community and about Judaism itself. And I'm going to quote the words of one of my favorite songwriters named Jim Steinman, and I'll give extra credit to anyone who knows what song this comes from, who said, quote, "It was long ago, and it was far away, and it was so much better than it is today." Too many people look at the Jewish community and think that. They lament the lack of this or of that, without whether it's learning, dedication, seriousness, or whatever. That fiction needs to be broken. I see so many positive signs of people finding meaning in Judaism, in Jewish values, and belonging. They're seeking new opportunities and new reasons to embrace ritual, study, social action in the Jewish context. So my last words to you are, don't let them tell you our best days are behind us. The days ahead might be different, but they can be every bit as great or greater. You all have too much to do than to listen to long speeches, so I'll end by saying, help us, in the words of Isaiah, to widen and strengthen our tents, Thanks for listening. Thanks for all that you have done and will do. Chizkuvi imsu, be strong and courageous, and do good work every day. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jackie Dressler, and I am, well, I'm supposed to be done, but I'm still writing, of course. Finishing my master's in Judaic Studies at the Frankel Center. I just have to say, shout out to Professor Levinson, my advisor, luckiest student on earth, as you saw. I've had the privilege of a lifetime, and I truly mean that, being a part of JCLP. When I applied to graduate school, I had no idea that this would be part of my journey. It was kind of a fun bonus, I saw it as, being in seminar. I couldn't have imagined that when I'd started this graduate program, and I was a cohort of 1, that I would leave as a cohort of 6, family, because I feel that that's what we are. The space that JCLP inhabits is sacred. It's really hard to describe what our seminar space is like if you haven't been a part of it. It's truly ethereal. The way that we open up and discuss things, it's so beautiful. I can't say enough also about the second years that are graduating today. I truly believe that this program could prepare anyone to do, well, not anything, but within reason, anything. It does way more than just mold conscious, considerate Jewish communal professionals. I believe these folks could be successful in any walk of life that they do. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this space and for showing me, Karla, Paige, everyone, that things are not black and white and that we live in gray and that we always, always need to be asking the really difficult questions. And I will never stop doing that because of you all. Thank you.
Jackie, that was so beautiful. My name is Ashley Schnarr, and I'm a first-year student in JCLP. The graduating second years, all of them, have taught us so much over this past year. They are a group of extremely thoughtful individuals, each passionate about their respective interest areas, whether it's wilderness therapy, creating social justice movements, or Jewish education. They have served as incredible role models to us this year, and I truly cannot imagine JCLP without them. I feel so fortunate to have gotten to know each of them as individuals and as communal leaders who I aspire to be. I'm excited to see how they will transform communities for the better as they go forth in their careers. Now, each of us first years will introduce and invite up the second years to speak. I would like to start by retroactively introducing Jackie Dressler, who spoke before me. Jackie is graduating with her MA in Judaic Studies rather than social work, which has added so much unique perspectives to our program. She has been an integral part of this cohort, and I'd like to share some things that I admire about her. Her self-confidence, she's not afraid to speak her mind inside or outside the classroom, her passion and thoughtfulness, her commitment to discovering Judaism, and she's an incredible dog mom. Jackie's academic interests about the Holocaust specifically, have added so much knowledge to our already rich weekly discussions. Jackie will truly be missed by JCLP and has left an everlasting impact on this program. Now, Megan, another first year, will come up and introduce another graduating second year.
Hi, I'm Megan Bernard. I am a first year in this program, and I have the utmost pleasure of introducing Emily Clow. Where do I even start with Emily Clow? What a multi-dimensional woman. When I met her during orientation, she was climbing trees and doing acro yoga. She's the crunchy hippie that I've always admired, and not just because of her love of record players and Fleetwood Mac, but because she embodies a loving and compassionate soul. And never have I met someone who lives her life with mostly 0% phone battery. Now that's living life on the edge in my book. I sometimes have to be like, is Emily going to show up? Is her phone charged? Is she going to be okay? When I'm with Emily, I feel as if I'm the most important person in the room, the only person she wants to be with in that exact moment. That quality is what will make her an extraordinary therapist, partner, and friend. Cheers to you, Emily. I will miss your smile and style. See you in Denver.
Thanks, Megan. That was really on point. Also, in case anyone's been wondering what we actually talk about in JCLP, it's basically been a 2-year analysis of what Rabbi Dobrusin talked about for a couple of minutes. So he hit all of the points we've been talking about. I'm going to try to go slow. Okay. As a textbook extrovert, I'm not shy from telling anyone how I'm actually feeling. So when friends and families and strangers ask how school is, while just trying to make casual conversation, they naively untap a can of worms. First, I shrug and say, it's fine. Usually not the response they're looking for. Then I tell them, well, actually, my scholarship program has been the one thing that keeps me going, and other than that, I'm not really loving it. And of course, I actually mean this. JCLP has radically altered my path. I went from having never interacted with a Jewish organization to being hired by a Jewish wilderness therapy program in Denver. I lost my place. Prior to this program, I was clueless to who the key players were in the Jewish world, and now I know which ones to align with and which ones to challenge. However, throughout this transformative experience, I still have the same question. What does it mean to be Jewish? Are Jewish values human values? Are Jews even unique? While I don't feel like I have a definitive answer to these questions, or even remotely close to answering them, I do feel like the answer lies within the concept of community. We as humans crave community and the ability to connect with one another. Adding a shared spiritual element to that experience that is rich with tradition and ritual simply adds a dynamic layer to the experience, deepening a connection that may already be there. My experience in JCLP has been a perfect example of this. And this year hasn't been an easy one for the Jews, nor do I feel like it's going to get any easier. Throughout tragedy, I felt security and comfort knowing that I was able to lean on my cohort. While never really finding my niche in the school of social work, I held on tight to my JCLP community. But of course, it didn't always feel this way. When I first started this program, I was coming fresh from spending a year in wilderness with a bunch of sad and angry teenagers, and entering JCLP was truly a shock. I distinctly remember leaving our first seminar being incredibly frustrated. I thought to myself, what is the point of this? We just spent 3 hours talking about things affecting the Jewish community with absolutely no plan to do anything. After hands-on clinical work for a year, shifting back into academia full of contemplative and theoretical thinking was a 180-degree shift. After nearly 200 hours of conversation about the Jews and still no action plan, I find myself unwilling to lead these conversations. What happened in these 200 hours? Hours of crying and singing and questioning and challenging and celebrating and connecting and building. Maybe 200 hours of conversation is really just the first step to making change. I would be remiss to not acknowledge one of the reasons that I'm here today. My papa has been one of the biggest influences in my cultivation of my Jewish identity. Despite never having actually lived in Michigan and being constantly mistaken from being from West Bloomfield, from Deerfield, Riverwoods, I've been able to trace parts of my grandfather's past throughout experiences and opportunities from this program. I was able to visit the JCC in Metro Detroit, where he was president, and connect with other community members who worked with him while he was still living in Michigan. Although he passed away in August, this program has provided me with a pathway to continue my connection with him and pass on and feel confident in passing on his legacy. My Nana and Papa have been the biggest supporters of my education. Thank you, Nana, for driving here with my parents today. I love you. Well, I'm incredibly excited to begin the next chapter of my life in the mountains and leave Ann Arbor after 6 years, went here for undergrad. I'm truly going to miss my Wednesday nights sitting at the long table with all of you. Thank you, JCLP, for altering my path and maybe even some parts of my mind. I want to end with an excerpt from a poem by Aurora Levins Morales called Vea Hafta, another super rad Jew who I wouldn't have known about had I not been in this program. Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return, in times of mourning and in times of joy. Inscribe them on your doorpost, embroider them on your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders, teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies. Recite them in your sleep. Here in the cruel shadow of the empire, another world is possible.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nora Greenstein, and I'm a first year in JCLP. And I have the utmost honor of introducing and not looking in the eye because it's going to make me cry, Miss Allie Julian. Allie and I had the pleasure of sitting next to each other on a 7 or 8 hour flight in which Karla walked past us in the aisle and said, "How are things going?" And we said, "Oh, we're having a good time, just chatting, getting to know each other, talking." And she goes, "Okay, well, just so you know, some people like to sleep on flights." So we tried to bring our volume down, but we continued talking, and she has been a standard staple in my life ever since. Oh, goodness. I'm going to talk slow so I don't cry. I cannot think of a moment that I've reached out to Allie and she hasn't been there for me. No matter how small the issue or what time of day, Allie has always been there to respond to any call, text, Snapchat that has a question on it, an Instagram message with a meme, but also another question. She's there no matter what. No question is too small for her to answer. No favor is too large to ask for help. And I know that I'm always going to be getting the most helpful and honest answer, no matter what the issue is. I think of this as one of Allie's most admirable qualities. And combined with her compassion, her dedication to her work, no matter big or small, her humor, and her encouragement and modeling of thinking and working outside of our comfort zones, she's made such an impact on not only JCLP, but every community she interacts with, be it School of Social Work, the Frankel Center, Hillel, the larger Ann Arbor Jewish community, Metro Detroit community, and beyond. I can't imagine what seminar is going to be like without her, but I know that the Baltimore Jewish community is going to be so much better with her working in it. Congratulations, Mazel Tov, and I love you.
Okay, I'm Allie Duhan. I'm already crying. I'm not a crier, ever. It's true, yes. Thank you, Nora. I love you. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to write a graduation speech, and I'm not even kidding, this is written down. It says, for a million reasons, mostly connected to the fact that I don't want to cry in public. So great. So rarely in JCLP do you have to do anything alone. So rarely do you have to stand by yourself without the support of this incredible family that we have. So I tried to find a way around writing my graduation speech. And so I was going to make a PowerPoint, and it doesn't resonate in the same way. And so I circled back to this because in JCLP, there's no easy way around things. You have to get through them. Because Karla's assignments, no matter how hard or long or frustrating, always leave you for the better. One assignment in particular that probably received the most mixed reviews were our weekly journals. But for me, they helped. They helped me put my thoughts into perspective over the past 2 years. And so I thought instead of reinventing the wheel, I could share with you some excerpts from my journal I could stand here and say all the things I've learned and all the amazing ways that JCLP has impacted me, all the amazing experiences that we've been able to have as JCLP. But this speech isn't really for that. Well, normally we, those in JCLP, are always thinking about the bigger we, unknown. This moment is about me. And so I wanted to share what JCLP meant to me and my growth. It may be hard to believe, but initially I did not fully buy into JCLP. I felt it asked too much from me personally in a way that I wasn't prepared to engage with. And so the very first line of my very first journal after the very first JCLP seminar says, I really struggled with the first day of class. Before we had even begun, I had built walls around myself, walls that I had spent the next 2 years breaking down so I could really think and engage with my classmates and issues facing the Jewish community. And then, since I'm a goal setter, at the end of my first year of JCLP, I wrote, I think next year I need to work on bringing my full self to seminar and not taking on so much all the time, since that makes me feel like I have too many things going on and I can't really participate in seminar in the way I want to. Somehow, over the course of a year, I did not end up taking on less work, but I found other people who could help shoulder the burden. At the end of it all, 2 years and 88 pages of journals, I wrote this in my last journal, which I think perfectly encapsulates my graduation speech, or perfectly caps my graduation speech. And I'm sorry a little bit, but not really, if it sounds like a love letter to JCLP. A lot has changed. My priorities changed from year 1 to year 2. I feel like my first year I was focused on my growth and journey, and now I'm more focused on the collective, the we, the communal aspect of JCLP. I said this in my community conversation reflection, which is another assignment that we had. But if I had to pinpoint something to lift up as the best accomplishment of JCLP, I think that we were our greatest accomplishment. Any of the discussions we had in JCLP could have been had in other spaces. What made them impactful was the bond that we built with each other that enabled us to have open and vulnerable conversations. It is what enabled us to trust someone else's point of view and really deeply listen to their opinions. I've said this before, I'm obsessed, not to you all, but I'm obsessed with group dynamics, in particular about what makes a good group work. On the face of it, there's nothing obvious that should have made my cohort gel as much as we did. We all are coming from different backgrounds, we're different ages, we have different undergrad and prior work experiences, we're in different stages of life, we have different interests in politics, but after a rocky start, we really solidified into something magic. There is something a little magnetic about us. I feel drawn in and supported. There's always someone to sit with. There's always someone to study with. There's always someone to FaceTime with. This was the first time I felt fully myself in a group with all my complex emotions and personality quirks, and I mourn the loss of our proximity. I know I've changed a lot over the past 2 years, from closed off to much more open, and I hope that that doesn't go away just because we are not together. I like the new person I am moving towards, and I want to continue to grow at the Associated and at every place I go to afterwards. Truly, thank you for accepting me. This is to Karla. This is my love letter to Karla. Thank you for accepting me and my cohort into this program. It has changed my life for the better through this special space that we've created. This is the Jewish community I've always been seeking, and I am so grateful to have found it here and now. JCLP for me as a current student has come to a beautiful and appropriately painful end. Thank you. Thank you.
This is so fun. Hi, my name is Lauren, and I get to introduce Danny Kaplan. Okay. Danny, there are many things I admire about you. I admire your ability to embrace nuance. I admire the way you take a stand when you're certain that something is wrong. I admire the way you approach social change from a place of love and healing. I admire the way you prioritize centering the voices of those who are the least heard. Perhaps most of all, I admire the way that you don't wait around for the Jewish community you want to see. You create it. In just 1 year, you've shown me how to wear my Jewishness proudly. You've lovingly pushed me to take the most just actions I can take. You've shown me what it means to reclaim my family history and to honor it. For all of these lessons and more, I'm truly grateful. I'm grateful for our time as classmates. I'm so grateful for our friendship. And I'm looking forward to being colleagues in Jewish justice with you wherever our paths may go. Thank you for being a role model and a friend. Much love and mazel tov.
The year is 1969. In Washington, D.C., a radical social justice collective called Jews for Urban Justice hosts the very first Freedom Seder. This groundbreaking, interfaith, interracial, intercommunal Passover observance connects civil rights and Black liberation struggles to the Israelite release from the house of bondage. While many Jewish communities continue to organize their own Freedom Seders 50 years later, few Jews know the history of Jews for Urban Justice. Perhaps this may be because JUJ, among its many activist tactics and campaigns, would protest outside synagogues where segregationist developers and architects of the Vietnam War were members. Their activism was bold, controversial, and didn't exempt Jewish community from rebuke. JUJ did what they did because they saw the pursuit of justice, tzedek, loving kindness, chesed, and moral obligation, mitzvah, as intrinsically Jewish imperatives. In 1969, JUJ members also began identifying Dokeit as a grounding principle in their activism and Jewish identity. Unlike chesed, mitzvah, and tzedek, Dokeit doesn't originate from the Torah. It's a Yiddish word. It was popularized by the Bund, a Jewish socialist organization that thrived in Eastern Europe at the turn of the last century. Dokeit means here-ness, as in wherever Jews are, whatever countries we live in, it's our obligation to stay in here-ness and transform our societies for the sake of ourselves and our neighbors. As JUJ weathered the turbulence of the late 1960s, they drew inspiration from ancestors who also lived in dangerous times and arrived at similar conclusions about the future they needed to build. The year is 2018. I'm reading a book about American Jews in the 20th century for Karla's course, Jews and Social Justice in the United States. As I read the chapter about Jews for Urban Justice, I'm realizing that these 1960s radicals have found inspiration from the same seemingly lost Jewish history that I cherish. Before I enrolled in graduate school, I lived in a collective home in Chicago called Dokeit. We chose this name for our house because we understood that showing up for our city and neighbors are a fundamental part of who we are as Jews. My life mission is rooted in Dokeit. It's why I was a community organizer at the Jewish Council on Urban Affairs. It's why I'm returning to a career in the Jewish social justice world. And it's why I decided to pursue a graduate education in the Jewish Communal Leadership Program. Jewish history and tradition play an important role in informing how Jews choose to build community and interact with the broader global society. This is why Jewish learning is such a core component of the program we're graduating from. In order to make an impact on the world, we need to know ourselves, and we need to know how to lead our own people. Over the past 2 years, I've gotten to learn how my fellow JCL peers connect their passions and their drives to their Judaism. We all came to this program for different reasons. We all have different career aspirations and different relationships to Jewish culture, practice, and community. But I know that we all have learned a great deal from each other about how these differences inform our sense of self. I'm personally grateful to my peers for teaching me more about the importance of moving marginalized Jewish experiences to the center, of building organizations without gender and racial pay gaps, of the transformative power of wilderness and camp experiences, and of destigmatizing financial instability and providing economically accessible Jewish community. In many ways, great and small, you all have challenged me to refine my life mission and how my Jewish identity fits into it. I'm grateful for your Chaverschaft, that means your camaraderie. And I'm excited to see how you all will stake out your respective corners of this world that we're building together. Allie, Emily, Jackie, Jordan, and Rachel, I thank you for everything you've taught me these past 2 years. Thank you to Paige Walker for your tireless support, your endless hours of labor and energy that you've put to getting us to the finish line, things that I see and things that I don't. Thank you to Dr. Karla Goldman for your wisdom, your unshakable commitment to American Jewish community building, and your deep love to your students. Thank you to my parents and my brother for your support and for believing in me. Lastly, thank you to my grandparents and ancestors. Though you are only here in memory, I think of you constantly for financially supporting my education and for the struggles you and your peers engaged in to build a better world. Our ancestors sacrificed so much for us, and I know we will pay it forward. To conclude, I want to recite a stanza from a poem called Lo Mirgein, which means let's go. Karla often calls to us, let's go, when it's time to go. And, and so this poem came to mind for me. It's by Mesha Kulbak, and it was originally in Yiddish. Let's throw wide the dreams and forge a new truth. Let's search out the shining song for the youth. Perhaps a lonely singer now stands guard at his bed. Perhaps the sound of new prayers are woven instead. Perhaps hammers are raised both here and out there, and the glowing forged words appear in the air. Let us, children of the stream, of the night and ravine, let's go, Lo Mirgein, let's go. Thank you.
I'm Sarah Weinfeld. I'm a first year, and I get the pleasure of introducing Jordan. While I don't cry. Okay. When I think about Jordan, various words come to mind. Jordan is loyal, kind, empathetic, charismatic, intelligent, supportive, and caring. Her smile is infectious and lights up every room she walks into. She's an incredibly selfless and loving human being who is always there to help others. Jordan is the kind of person who lives life enjoying every moment and spends her time doing what she loves. Everyone deserves a friend like Jordan, and I'm thankful that I have her as both my role model and friend. I can't imagine what JCLP will be like without you next year, but thankfully you'll only be a 40-minute drive away. So Jordan, thank you for always being there for me, for staying on the phone when I promise you it will be a 5-minute conversation and it turns into several hours, and for being an overall incredible friend. You're going to be an amazing clinical social worker, and the children that get to work with you are truly lucky to have someone dedicated and as kind as you. I love you and I will miss you so much, but cannot wait to see all the good you will do as an MSW. Hopefully our clinical paths will cross one day. Mazel tov, Jordan.
Sorry, I'm a hot mess now. There are a lot of things I could say about JCLP, and it actually took me a really long time to even draft this speech, and I wrote most of it last night, I'm not going to lie.
but I narrowed in on a few things, and those are what I'm going to share with you right now. For the longest time, I knew that I wanted to help those who struggle with their mental health through acquiring my master's in social work. People often ask why I didn't choose a different path and are confused how social work fits into the world of therapy. To me, this connection is seamless. In social work, we learn how to approach a client in the clinical setting. When we approach a client in the clinical setting, we make sure to explain the environmental systems they interact with. This theory is called person in the environment. As social workers, we offer a different approach by examining all the environmental and societal factors that can make an impact on someone. As a fan of this theory, I often examine myself and the different environments I am in and how they influence me. When I think about my life, I think about the spaces I grew up in and those that I've learned from. Some places that offered me the most growth and experiences were in my Jewish community. Jewish spaces have always been my environment. Knowing this and how much of an impact Jewish organizations have had on my life, I applied to JCLP to more closely examine my community, how it affects me as well as other Jews. And I can confidently say that JCLP has allowed me to do just that and much more. JCLP has helped me to expand my viewpoint of the Jewish community and how it functions. It's allowed me to have a space to discuss current Jewish issues where I'm forced to think critically. JCLP has opened new doors to organizations, communities, and professionals from all over the country and the world. And most importantly, it has provided me with a cohort of friends from this year and last who inspire me, push me, and support me. Thinking about my future without JCLP makes me extremely sad, as you can tell. Where else will I be able to go on a Wednesday night to fetch about important Jewish issues? I don't know. But I know that wherever I am in the world, I can always count on my fellow JCLPers to help me define the we and to mull over what Jewish values truly are. Even though I won't be a part of our Wednesday night seminars, I will take the skills that I learned there into my career as a social worker. And I plan on using the facilitation and leadership skills I learned there when I go on to be a school social worker this upcoming fall. I want to thank Karla and Paige for all that they have done for us over the past 2 years and for me personally. Thank you to the second year cohort, Emily, Allie, Danny, Rachel, and Jackie, for challenging me to think differently, for being a constant support system, and for helping me find my voice. Lastly, thank you to my family for supporting me endlessly throughout my 2 years here. I don't know what I would do without you. Thank you. Go JCLP and go Blue.
Wow. I honestly can't imagine what JCLP will look like next year without this beautiful group of people sitting in the first row. They each bring something so special to our seminar table, and Rachel Wall is no exception. She's incredibly kind, quietly passionate, and one of the most supportive people I know. She's a goofy side too, and brings a sense of joy to everything she does. One of the first things I noticed about Rachel is that she has this amazing ability to make anyone she is with feel included and at ease. When Rachel asks how you're doing, she really wants to know the answer and will ask you follow-up questions. This is just one of the many reasons she'll make an amazing social worker. Rachel has a strong sense of justice and passion for Judaism and the Jewish people. Her commitment to making the world a kinder and more equitable place is so easy to see. In seminar, she's always questioning who's being left out and what each of us can do in our communities to make them more inclusive. Knowing that Rachel is working in Jewish community makes me feel inspired and hopeful. She's already made such a wonderful impact on us in JCLP and me personally, and the people over at DARK are so lucky to have her talent, passion, and kindness. Rachel, you'll be so missed. Visit often.
Okay. Yeah, I say it's really hard to go last, but there's always Karla, so it's okay. There's a lot I could say about this moment.
What I'm feeling most right now is gratitude to the people in this room. I'd like to tell you why I am so grateful for each of the members of my cohort. Thank you, Emily, for teaching me how to jump headfirst into new experiences with openness and compassion, and how to build strong relationships with direct and loving communication. Thank you, Jordan, for teaching me how to embody intuitive empathy and what it looks like to go through the process of truly finding your voice. Thank you, Jackie, for teaching me how to take an experience and make it your own, and the value of finding the shades of gray. Thank you, Allie, for teaching me day in and day out what it means to show up, to do the work, and as a friend. Thank you, Danny, for teaching me how to live your values, how enriched our lives can be when we open ourselves to vulnerability, and how to center relationships, because all of this work affects all of us. Of course, these aren't the only students I've interacted with these past 2 years, so thank you to the previous JCLP grads and the rising second-year students for showing me what it means to be part of a legacy of learning and growth. I would be remiss if I didn't also say thank you to Paige, a social worker always ready with a hug and who balances endless competing priorities with patience and care. And thank you to the incredible social work and Judaic Studies faculty and staff for providing the most challenging and rewarding learning I've ever done. Thank you to Karla for modeling courageous leadership, for pushing us to ask harder and deeper questions that have fewer and fewer answers, for sharing so much of yourself with us, and for being the most social work-minded historian I ever thought I'd meet. Of course, these last 2 years haven't existed in a U of M vacuum. There have been a lot of people around me my whole life without whom I wouldn't be here today. Thank you to my mom, without whom I never would have seriously considered grad school in the first place, and who has always wanted and provided the best for me and my brother. And thank you to her partner, John, for holding down the fort in California and for being part of our family. Thank you to my brother David, whose selflessness is perfectly embodied in the fact that he's here today on his actual birthday. And who moves through the world with thoughtful intelligence and humor. And thank you to his girlfriend Rebecca for lending him to us this weekend. Thank you to my extended family, especially my Aunt Janet, who traveled here from Maryland, who've always supported and loved me unconditionally. Thank you to my incredible in-laws, Lisa, John, Zach, and Katie, who have welcomed me into their home into their family with open arms and never let go. And finally, thank you to my incredible husband, Logan, who put life on hold for 2 years so I could pursue this degree, who stood by me through late nights and early mornings, and who continues to help me be the best possible version of myself every day. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really know how to close this because I think all that I will say is that my heart is so full. I love you all, and thank you.
Huh. Well, you don't really need to hear anything more about JCLP. I'll say a little bit, but thank you so much to all of you. All of you are graduating, who have been part of this, who are here as family members, as community members, as alumni, as faculty. What a wonderful community is right here in this moment right now. So, as Julian mentioned, any Jewish story we tell is one that many of you will already know. But let me share a Hasidic teaching that was related by Martin Buber in his book Legends of the Jews, attributed to Rabbi Simcha Bunam of Przezka. So everyone, Reb Bunam would say, should have 2 pockets. This might be a bit gendered, but I fortunately have pockets. I have 4 today. In one of these pockets, there should be a slip of paper that you can take out when you're feeling low And on that piece of paper, it will say, "For my sake, the world was created." And then in your other pocket, a different kind of paper, a different slip of paper. And that's for the times when you feel a little bit too full of yourself. And that slip will say, "I am but dust and ashes." With this kind of guidance always with us, one might be fortified for the ups and downs of our beautiful but flawed world. As I've been thinking about this momentous occasion, the graduation of this beloved group of JCLP students, it has struck me that those slips of paper are also a guide, a helpful guide to thinking about the pursuit of education. After all, at times like these, with such dire need in the world, it may seem self-indulgent to spend so much time and so many resources focusing on strengthening oneself. And I know our students at times have asked that question: what am I doing here at this moment? To act as if indeed the world was created for you, to strengthen you. But, in the course of our learning together, the world, of course, has come to us more times than we would like to remind us of that we are dust and ashes, of the irrelevance of our efforts to deepen understanding and conversation as we watch intolerance and violence gain momentum and hold sway. Indeed, we realize we are but dust and ashes. This year, the combination of a world that too often overwhelmed us and a space where it seemed that in JCLP we were uniquely positioned to learn about and encounter that world came together to create what has felt like a remarkable experience. So often it did seem like the world was offering itself up for our examination. I'll mention one example. One week, a student proposed an online discussion about looking at, what happens when people feel they need to apologize to the Jewish community. And I thought, there are so many hotter topics right now in the news. Why are we going to talk about that? By the time this was posted and people began to engage with it online and it was in our class, the whole world seemed to be talking about was Representative Ilhan Omar's apology about what she had said about the Jews good enough. So the world definitely came to us and to our conversations. And I will say there is a tremendous luxury here. Think about this moment. What a luxury this is. How incredible, how blessed we are to hear from these folks, to understand them through the eyes of others, and now through ourselves. That's a version of what we've gotten to do over the past 20 months, to spend these 2 years in intensive learning together through times like these. Even as the world brews its challenges, we have gotten to slow things down and examine and question. We had this luxury of going beyond knee-jerk reactions as we attempted to connect and to try to understand. This has been a tough year, a tough 2 years for the world, but a remarkable one for JCLP. Through our first group trip to Israel, the need to respond to the tragic shootings in Pittsburgh, the grim and elsewhere, the grim specter of rising and violent anti-Semitism and other hatreds. We've gotten to support each other. Our students have gotten to step up and take leadership in helping the rest of the School of Social Work through these moments, hosting ambitious and mind-blowing conferences, meeting with an array of change makers ranging from President Mark Schlissel to Ben Falick to trans Rabbi Becky Silverstein. And through all of that, learning, growing from and with each other, these students in particular benefited from the challenge of the critical and rigorous thinking of the class ahead of them and the different kind of rigorous and joyful spirit of the class that joined them this year. There's another two-pocket dichotomy, I have some other pockets, that is often expressed at the School of Social Work that also comes together to define our experience here. This one goes, we are all teachers, we are all learners. It is my privilege as director of JCLP to understand the depth of that teaching, and never more so than this year. Thank you. Paige and I now have the honor of presenting the certificates in Jewish communal leadership to this group of folks who have been my teachers as well as my students, and all of whom, as you have heard, have grown so much, each in their own way, over these last 2 years. What's that? Yeah, so what I want you to do is,
Emily Faye Clow.
Emily. So, with Emily, we shared the joy and wonder of connecting Jewish identity and community to our other passions of deep engagement with earthly beauty and human frailty. We are so glad that she has taken both of these passions down, chosen to take them both down the road with her. From her presence, we have made brought up to us all kinds of new questions and an energy to go at them hard. In that spirit, as part of her studies, she found probing, challenging thinkers. One among them was Ellen Willis. I don't know I hope you haven't gotten this book yet. See, she threatened to, but I have confidence that people put off their book buying. But Ellen Willis is an incredible, incisive thinker who celebrates our physical and aesthetic beings while also asking the hardest questions about life and community. So I'm so glad that you didn't get this book yet. I know that these works, The Essential Ellen Willis, will be a challenging guide as you continue to connect young people with challenge and possibility. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just go.
Yep. Jordan, Lily,
we're doing it like.
Oh yeah. Jordan, Lily.
Sorry. Where is Jordan? I'll wing it. So Jordan, what Rachel said, what a joy to watch somebody find their voice. There's a lot more to say about Jordan. Her kindness, her passion, her attentiveness to what's right, her ability to help create community. We're so grateful for everything that you've brought to us and really grateful for what we've brought to you. And I remember now my first line of the thing for paragraph for Jordan was, I don't think she knew what she was getting into, but I'm glad she did. So for Jordan, I got this book, Good and Mad by Rebecca Traister. We're all familiar with it because it was the book that the Statue of Liberty was holding in the group's communal conversation image. The Jewish future is feminist. And these are, Rebecca Traister is asking really compelling questions for this moment and for right now, ones that you'll continue to grapple with, and I know that the students that you're working with are also grappling with. So Rachel also, I think, in her time with us has really, came in with so many strengths, so many good questions, so much good thinking, and has just grown in confidence and poise and in leadership. She's taken the strength of what was within her, has shared it with us in conversation, and as part of leading together with those around her. Rachel, in particular, has thought a lot about what it means to challenge Judaism from inside an Orthodox point of view, and to also think about what it is that makes feminism in Judaism stronger, and what those challenges should mean to our future. So we've got two books for Rachel. One is from 1981 by Blue Greenberg on women in Judaism, which is really sort of the pioneering book that asks questions about what can feminism mean within the Jewish community, what might happen in our lifetime and beyond our lifetime, Blue Greenberg's lifetime. It's all happened within her lifetime, which is an incredible blessing and inspiration. And also this book, Engendering Judaism by Rachel Adler, which posits a really kind of radical look at what we can do from within our tradition that I hope will help you think forward as you continue to lead us in this work. Now, as you've heard, when Allie arrived in Ann Arbor, I think she was somewhat suspicious of this whole thing. She was well aware of her resistance to the type of community that we hope to engender among the students, to warm fuzzies, and to identifying with a group. And what a blessing for us that she has given herself over so whole hog to the possibilities of thinking together and growing with a supportive and challenging community. What you heard from her articulation of this idea that our greatest creation is us. It's like, yeah, oh right? I mean, Dean Videka said something about me as the catalyst, but it's not. It's what these folks have created together. And we create a container for it as best we can, but you all really did it. And Allie, thank you for recognizing that and contributing so much to that. So Allie is moving on to a very strong and coercive community. Less coercive, maybe more coercive than ours, but also very strong and very rich in history and in present and in future. She'll be working in the Jewish community of Baltimore. So I'm really happy to get you this rather new work on the history of the Baltimore Jewish community by Eric Goldstein and Deborah Weena. It's called On Middle Ground, A History of the Jews of Baltimore. Because as Danny pointed out, to know where we have been is so important to know where we can go. So, as is clear, I think, from what's been said today, we have all learned so much from Danny. He has a fierce moral core, he has a challenging but open mind, and a kind heart, attuned to community and deep questions of equity, power, and privilege. He came in hoping to learn Yiddish and how to make budgets. He leaves, as you've heard, with so much more. Danny has been a teacher to everyone in JCLP about how we might highlight and value the experience to those who are less seen within Jewish community and are often pushed to the margins. With that in mind, I got him a book that he borrowed from me but didn't get the chance to read, a very important book by Melanie K. Kantorowicz, The Colors of Jews, Racial Politics and Radical Diasporism. It's dedicated to him, if I can read it. For the young Jewish diasporas heading into the new century's dreams, seeking each other. So I know you will appreciate this book. I have one more book somewhere. I have something for Paige Walker, who has not only worked with and supported all these students, but done so much to support and facilitate the endless rounds of activities, outreach, site visits, including a trip to Israel. In particular, our hugely ambitious Jewish Feminisms Conference in March, followed immediately by the students' large communal and ambitious communal conversation. And just to note, I don't know how many of you were aware, but the arrangements this morning were actually not smooth. Things were set up in the wrong place. Did anybody notice? I know Allie did, because she helped. But the reason you didn't notice was because of Paige. I will note that among those who came to participate in our programs this year, there was constant comment about how well it was run, how thoughtful all the arrangements were, how efficiently things were done. but more than that, done with a deep humanity and warmth that our participants encountered at every turn whenever they had a question, concern, problem, or kvetch. Paige, you made this all happen. I can't thank you enough for allowing us to do this work in the way that we want to do it. And I. All right. So let's see, I have a conclusion. Let's see. Okay. So it has truly been a privilege to work with this JCLP community, all of the people here. And Rabbi Dobrusin, thank you so much for your wisdom today. As you heard, it resonates with what these folks are trying to accomplish. We really have all grown up together, benefiting in full measure from the very different contributions of every member of the group. I will say that as far as I know, School of Social Work faculty do not usually cry at the social work graduation. But the people around me yesterday may have noticed me wiping my eyes. And it wasn't just that I will miss you, which I will. It's not just that it's hard for us all to imagine JCLP without you, which is a beautiful thing about this program. We said that, we felt that so deeply last year about the folks who graduated. How could we do this without them? They helped us do it, and you are going to enable this group to create it as well. And so thank you for that. So there's all of that. We will miss you. But it was so moving to contemplate the love and appreciation you have for each other, the number of hard days and celebrations we have traversed together, and the learning trajectory that each of you has pursued. How fortunate we are to have this luxury of this moment, to hear from each of you, to thank those who have sacrificed so much to support you and all of us and make this possible, to act indeed as if this day was created for us to celebrate our achievements. Of course, we know there are grimmer and uglier forces out there, along with tough questions facing ourselves and our communities. Indeed, there will be times when you will long for the support, wise counsel, and community that you have had over your time here. At those moments, in whatever form the world comes at you, whether because of ancient hatreds or folks within your own community who seem unable to listen to or learn from another, I hope you might imagine another slip of paper that says JCLP. May it serve you as a reminder of your strength, of your passion, of your humanity, and of the hope all of us are investing in you, of moving us closer to what our world might be. As Mordecai said to Esther, who knows, but that you were created for this time. Thanks, everybody. Emily has something to say, but after that, we invite everybody to depart this space, which is turned over for another event, and go back, and there's more food and community to be had, and we hope you'll stay with us.
So I feel very confident that everyone in this room has a really good idea of who I am as a person. And because of that, I've totally left the gifts that we got for Karla and Paige at home. I will take full accountability for that. Didn't even think about bringing them today. But they are wrapped and on my kitchen table. I know exactly where they are. I'm sure my roommate knows exactly where they are. So I take accountability for that, but I'll tell you what's in them as a little surprise so everyone else can know. We got Karla a little frame with a collection of photos of us. Some of you may have seen the little jean-on-jean photo shoot we did ourselves in the lock quad. So there's a note, and that photo is framed in this awesome little bike chain frame because we know that you like biking and excited for your bike trip. And Paige, where's, oh, she left? Okay. Well, Paige doesn't know this yet, but we got her a little mug that says Chaos Coordinator because I think that's truly her title and her role with us, and a little note as well. So again, full accountability for getting those at home. Would not be, no one's surprised by that, but thank you all. And I think I'm going to bring up Allie and Jordan again. I'm going to bring up Allie and Jordan again.
So as we said at the beginning of this, which feels so long ago now, we like to start and end all of our important moments with the same song. So if you flip to that same insert in your program, we're going to sing our closing Nagoon. A second.
Ozil bezimrat ya vayahil Yeshua. 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 Ozil bezimrat ya vayahil Yeshua.
Oh, this is me. Thank you.
And let me know because it has a monogram on it.